Okay, Michelle Venturella here with Washington University at St. Louis. We're here at the Midwest Baseball Softball Clinic. Have a few questions for you.
Sure.
Really excited to catch up. You know, we've not only played against each other, but played with each other in the past. So as a former Olympian and now head coach, tell me something that you feel like whenever pitchers a lot of times have to go to the bullpen and practice on their own. What is that? What are you wanting them to do as a coach if you can't be there in their workouts?
I think they have to know what they're trying to accomplish during that workout. So whether it's going to the bullpen to get ready for coming into a game, or a lot of times in D3 they're on their own a lot. And so making sure that they know after the workout's done, did I accomplish my goal? So keep it very simple so they can have that kind of measurement when they're done for the day.
Yeah, staying on task is hard sometimes,
Sure.
especially when you're down there by yourself.
Yep.
Tell me about pitching from a catching perspective. That to me is something that I think is so unique and so valuable because you're on the receiving end of things. So many times pitchers have a skewed perspective of what their ball did or where it really was, and you now have the advantage of seeing it from your side. Tell me something that you think good pitchers or some of the best out there do when they're in the bullpen or they're throwing. How do they help hold themselves accountable?
Well, I think from the catcher's perspective, you have to actually know what the pitcher's trying to do, and that's the details of their game, and so really treating everyone individually. So, for example, understanding their grip, understanding how they release it so you know the spin that you're looking at, because I think you have the best seat in the house. So when you're sitting back there and can analyze the spin and at least initially give them that feedback, a lot of time the pitchers know what they're trying to accomplish. Anytime there's a pitching coach around, you want to talk to them about what they're doing. So again, in a game, you can take over. That's the fun.
Right.
Coaches want to coach, but again, we also want our players to play the game and enjoy it. And part of that is really figuring those things out. So I think if you stick to the details, getting to know that, of course, that's going to help build the relationships that at the end of the day, your batter, you got to be there for each other. And I think that makes a huge difference.
You know, one of the things I like to say to mine especially is they'll ask me, was that good enough when we're doing a workout? And I say, I don't know, what's your standard?
Right.
And I think when you find the really good ones, their standard is really high on what's good.
Absolutely. I have one catcher right now that even in a workout yesterday, and she said, well, how'd that move? She's like, oh, it was good, but it could definitely be better. And I loved it because
right.
I think sometimes we want to make each other feel good, and then in the game it's not realistic. So I think if we can just set that standard, I think as coaches make sure that we build that kind of safe environment so we're allowed to talk to each other like that,
right.
and understanding that it's not going to be something that's, we take it personal because we tend to do that all the time.
Sometimes, yes.
And if we can go ahead and manage that and understand that the reason they're saying it can be better is because they believe in you, that it can be better.
Right.
And so I think if you look at it that way, they understand like you have something else that you can offer, and we know you can do it because of your work ethic and your determination to get it done.
Right. So tell me about mechanical adjustments. That's something that, you know, you get to be on the perspective now as a head coach, and you're having to do pitching.
Yep.
I know you've done it in numerous jobs before, but what is that thing that you think is really key when you're making some mechanical pitching adjustments?
You know, I think first just watching pitchers throw, see what they do naturally without giving them any kind of information. I always think video, because the video will give us a chance to rewind some things, slow it down. And I think it's up to us to really figure out where the source of the potential issues come from. So if someone's ball is going a certain way, it's really going back and looking at yourself as a pitching coach and the philosophy that you have and how you're going to go about, you know, building up your pitchers and saying, okay, if she's leaning forward, then I got to work on her alignment a little bit, and making sure that from a mechanical standpoint, you're not giving them 10 things. You have 2 or 3 main things that you want your pitchers to be able to do and do well. That'll also go back to when they're warming up or doing workouts on their own. They can always refer those. It's not 10 things and I'm not sure which one it is today. It's if you get these 3 things in line, everything else is going to be okay.
Right.
So
yeah, we talked a lot about order and sequencing, and that's one of those things that's really important when you're trying to make adjustments. Staying in order, staying in the right sequence of that pitch motion, just like in hitting or anything else.
Right.
Really fixes a lot.
And the nice thing is that sequence is always going to be the same for whatever pitcher. It's just making sure and take what they do, letting them have that flexibility with their style. But when they get to a certain point, they've got to be down. They got to be attacking. They have to let the pitch have a place to move, and figuring out again what that's going to be and how to kind of relay that to each of your pitchers.
So you've now made the transition from D1 as a player and a coach, but now you're into D3 at Washington University. So tell everyone what D3 softball looks like.
You know, one of the reasons that I chose to make this decision was because of the philosophies kind of match up with what I believe as far as academics first and athletics. And having family in the area, this was such a great marriage for me. When I think about D3, I'm going after the same kind of student athlete I would at D1. It's really just finding that fit again at the university. So we still expect excellence. We still expect to do things the right way. I haven't changed a single thing that I'm doing in practice. The biggest difference is really the time commitment that you're allowed to have with them. So there's less time in the fall. So to me, it's great because I have to now be better, I think, at even giving more leadership to my team and figuring out how they can go ahead and take that and run with it. So they're still doing what we want to as a team, as a culture. So when we get back together in January, we're ready to go.
Right.
So a little bit different in that sense, but I'm absolutely anticipating a high level of ball. And if we're not doing that right now on our standpoint, we're going to make sure and continue to be better because we always want to drive the game forward no matter what level that we're at.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Good catching up.
Absolutely. Thanks.